I'm a man, like never grow up baby. Every day when I work in Hong Kong, I got to have different cigarettes. And I always go to different restaurants. I have different drink. I have different shoes, different tie, different watch, different camera. I love different things every day. If I can change a new lover or a new wife, I will have new wife, new lover all the time. I don't want to have the same thing. I'm not a mad boy. And I've been told Cancel Tongue is like that, and Frank Lloyd Wright is like that. Once upon a time, he was a man called Rossano Fan, and his father is a famous Chinese architect who killed himself at the age of 45. He married a market gardener who grew tomatoes and cabbage, but Rossano Fan wanted to become a world-famous architect. He had no education, and he had no degree in architecture, and he had no money either. The only thing can stop him is himself.
What went wrong, Rossano? You were obviously a very good architect and you've done some really good buildings.
Good question, yes. Why I'm doing not well? Yes, that's a good question. I think I'm quite complicated person sometimes. I think I do self-destruction sometimes. I think it's something to do with my childhood.
You see a kind of monster inside him.
Yeah, there is. And he's been stripped of that at the moment because of his circumstance. But given the money, surely he must talk to you about power. He personally may not achieve before his time on earth, because I'd hate to see him with that power, and that's the money and what he would do with it.
I want to settle down in a big country and have some glamorous job, some big job like IMP or Yumasaki, who designed the World Trade Center, or Yellow Cylinder, or Philip Johnson, or Paul Rudolph. I must say I'm not a very humble man. I don't like piddly little jobs. I like to do some grandeur job.
Sometimes we make him to go out carry the tomato. And he just carried the tomato back to, No, he wouldn't lift his finger, take the dishes or anything. He's a king.
Rossano lived in a town called Levin, and he worked in the market garden business, but he don't work very hard, and he read books and music, and one day a man come and asked Rossano to design a house, and he feel good. One day, a very sophisticated lady turned out. She's quite tall and very smart. And she said she had a degree on home science from Dunedin, and I almost laughed. And she said, I want you to design a house for us. And then I come around and met Peter King. And then Peter King laughed, said I have very high opinion about myself. I said, oh, yeah, maybe. He said, you're certainly not very modest. I said, I don't believe false modesty. Frank Lloyd Wright said, in this story, I'm God. What he means, architecture. I wouldn't say that I'm not God. I'm not arrogant as Wright because I haven't got his talent, not quite. At that time, 1960, American, I think, quite keen about Japanese architecture. American Japanese. Some America went to Japan to learn, and then Frank Lloyd Wright also influenced by Japanese. And Mrs. King and Peter King are very keen about American Japanese. I want to build the whole house by post and beam, and I use the Japanese principle. Actually, the Japanese learned that from Chinese thousand years ago, but the Japanese simplify it. And then I also know some work by John Utzon and few other Norwegian architects and Danish architects, and they are doing the same thing, black and white, post and beam, and then white plaster wall. And I want to use that method, and then I can get away from architrave, scripting, and sculpture, and chipboard, and all those. It's so much like women's make-up. I think if a woman is beautiful built or man, they don't need any makeup. They don't need any fancy garment. They look beautiful, even they're naked. Oh, I love cowboy movies, and the men look so handsome. They have no fancy garment, and they're rough, but they're beautiful just the same.
Shall I take my shoes off?
No, you do not need to.
Now it's nearly 50 years later, I look back to it, I still thinking the same thing.
For a very young man, that's not a bad word.
Some part is pretty good. It's crisp, sophisticated, well-controlled, and airy. It's like the music of Mendelssohn.
I like it. I haven't done any prop for long.
Oh, really?
Both Steve and I absolutely adore it. Every visitor that stays finds that the house just has a real charm to it. And we also know from being in the industry and building that the home is built and constructed so amazingly. And just having Rosa here today is quite fun, actually. It was the talk of the town when it was built. Steve's family knew the Kings that had the home built.
And I don't like that hood either.
And Steve remembers coming as a child up the driveway and being part of, welcomed into the family, and just so strong. He remembered the amazing architecture. So going back, what would it be now? 40 years.
Great house to live in. We get lots and lots of compliments from tradesmen, etc., that come and look at the workmanship and the style that was put into it, because it's all just bolted together with beams and timbers. I mean, there's no jib in the house. It's all block work and glass, really. Very clever. Well ahead of its time, I'd suggest. But they've got a distinctive style that everyone refers to as the fan style.
They think it's wonderful, and they always invite me to live with them. First time in my life, some Kiwi treat me so wonderfully. Anything I want in the house, I can drink them, eat them, and I sleep in a room. At that time, I smoke, and I smoke, chain smoking in the room. And they want me to share the beauty with them. And then in Pemberton and Wellington, most people admire the house designed by me, and they're so proud about it. And they become my lifelong friends.
It gives me quite a lot of recognition. I send the photograph of the house to England Architecture Review, Sir James Richards. At that time, he's the most famous architecture critic on earth. I also sent it to Architecture Record, and they want to publish it in America and England. But I think I've done something wrong. After I get drunk, I've written some unnecessary letters, and then they return it in the end.
What do you mean by unnecessary letters?
Oh, I said, you can stop me to become big or successful, but you can't stop me to become good.
come from Hong Kong to Levin in 1964, I think, or 63. And I was very young, just get married in Hong Kong.
Her father had taken the whole family back to Hong Kong. I think because they'd worked, got themselves a good little nest and decided to have a break, and so they went back to Hong Kong. And so Mum was just living a life of luxury over there. She didn't have to work or anything. And he was this toy boy that came along, and I think he knew he was onto a good thing and she was onto a good thing.
What was Rossano doing when you met him now?
He was working for the people doing designing, what do you call it in the cemetery, those headstones, yes.
I looked for some lady who's older than me, and I found few of them, but I can't make any money and I can't survive because I'm young. And in the end, I found Mary, this wife of mine. She come from New Zealand, and she only have 1 year education, and they come from peasant background. The parents are uneducated, they can't read and write, but it don't stop them to work, and they can work very hard.
This is Dad's version, I mean, Mum would never say, but she was looking for, a better man than the market gardener in Levin, and so she got her trophy, and he was it, and so that was the price that she paid for finding somebody out of her class, as he likes to say.
Mary had quality, and I feel very comfortable with her, and I think I found a good companion or a wife. And then Mary said we should get married. I said, all right. I'm sick and tired about Hong Kong.
Oh, this is the engagement photo.
My brother-in-law and my sister-in-law just give me almost free hand to do what I like. And I don't know why I suggest a house like that to them. I never liked Kiwi house, but I think the Kiwi factory, it interests me, impressed me, and must be deep in my mind. When my brother-in-law asked me to design a house, I said, okay, and why not make it all in block? Because I must say I'm fed up about timber structure. I never lie. Every time when we go up to Auckland by dry, I see lots of dairy factory. And I always get very excited by factory, New Zealand factory. I found the form very dynamic and full of movement. Anyway, I sketched out the whole thing in concrete block. Not even one dirty 4x2 wall. I said, concrete block is structure. It's finished, that's it. And it's very noble, loyal. It's wonderful. I think it reminds me of Egyptian and European architecture. You put it down, finish, that's it, and lasts for 10,000 years. Also remind me of some part of China, around Suzhou, Hangzhou, a house like that in China, white wall and black roof, charcoal. Oh, it's beautiful. It's so austere, frugal, and yet elegant and graceful. I think I make a fool of them.
How do you make a fool of us?
Oh, to have house in concrete block, look everywhere is 8-inch block, and no Kiwi will accept that.
Is that right?
And remember, George told me after you've been to JC and Notary meeting, people said, George, are you building a dairy factory or a printing factory? I said, yes, it's a factory. And I laughed. I think most part is good, it's well disciplined, in the same time very playful, and I think it's quite crisp and elegant and yet masculine, all in the same time. I think it's just as good as most of Miss Van der Rohe or Frank Lloyd Wright or Corbusier's work. The magnificent play under the sun, it's what Corbusier said, architecture should be put all the form together, have an extremely hard play under the sun. I think Corbusier is a great poet, great artist. If you build a big house or very sophisticated or interesting house, and then you have no interesting or sophisticated friends, and you have uninteresting, unsophisticated friends, I think it would bore me to death. I would like to have an interesting house, an interesting cognac and whiskey, and very interesting friends like Oscar Wilde or Sir Benjamin Britten. And I think it's very important to have the right company and the right type of friend to enrich the house.
When he comes to New Zealand, he doesn't know how to speak English, and reading, he has learned a lot. He studies every day. He's on his book. He could stay up reading the book till 4 o'clock in the morning, and he sleep all day. You see, he doesn't care what we do or the children.
Mum was a market gardener, and this was her family line of work. So working with her brother had this property, and he was kind enough, knowing the situation that Mum was in, and father wasn't bringing in a lot of money. So they, you could say, gifted Mum some property, and because she'd fallen out with her parents due to my father, so she didn't get left. She was no inheritance.
He used to hate me going to the garden, but I said, well, this is my living. I have to earn a living. He told me, he says, oh, well, if we haven't got enough money, just eat less. I said, well, can't do that, not with 3 children. Right?
I can't support the family because no job coming in, and I got to work as a gardener, but I'm bad on that because I can't focus to work as a manual worker. And Mary just had to grow tomatoes and cabbage.
We'd all be out in the garden helping her on a Sunday, and he'd get up he wouldn't go to bed till about 3. And so he'd get up at about 11 the next morning. We'd come home after working in the garden from like 6 o'clock in the morning, and he'd be watching the Sunday matinees on TV. So, if I was my mother, I would have killed him.
My wife found I'm useless because I'm so romantic or chaotic. I can't focus. I always look at the sky and look at the mountain.
He did come and work in the garden, but he was more a hindrance than a help. We'd have fights, throwing tomatoes.
Yes, I always like every shed, early shed, because I can see truth of architecture, just a shed, basic architecture form. And the old shed have steep roof, but it's unpretentious. And every time I saw it, I get so excited. And I love all the lower class people's architecture. The poor peasants, the poor slums in city, people build with cardboard, with corrugated iron. I get very excited sometimes because it's quite chaotic.
Here I become to think maybe designed by Lloyd Wright. Wright said, he's Jesus Christ, and they have two thieves next to him. One is R.M. Schindler, and one is Richard Reuter. They're thieves, you reckon? I think I'm new in New Zealand. Must be when I'm 25 years old, I think. I worked in Palmerston North as a draftsman in the beginning for David Taylor, an architect, and then I get upgraded very quickly, become a designer. Somewhere between 64 and 65, an old man, Mr. Nain from Pairua, I think he comes from the same village of my ex-wife, and he wanted me to design a townhouse.
He don't tell me exactly what he wants, but I can guess what he wants. I think he wants something very distinctive and very monumental for him to show his achievement in the new society. Most people are shy. They wouldn't say, look, you got to design something, make everyone stop and admire architecture. And I told him my fee. He said, gee, you become rich very quickly, isn't it? I said, look, Mr. Dan, you're wrong. It took me a long time. I think my fee is only quarter of what the fee should be because I'm a Chinaman. It's like mafia, Sicilian. When you work for one of your people, you charge them very little.
I'm only 24 years old, I think. And, I have very little training of architecture. And I just do it because I'm an ignorant young man and quite brave. And at that time, I know very little about conforming. I know very little about the local Chinese want to conform to the lower class or the middle lower class Kiwi pattern, Kiwi way of life. They like Beasley home or that sort of house. It still have some quality, yes. Control, discipline, lineless, airy, and some part is quite firm and strong. That's me. That's what Lloyd Wright said. Lloyd Wright said, architecture only as good as you are as a man.
They all know me to that house. But I think the old lady started to complain, said, why you make the chimney so big? Do you want to make a roast pig in my chimney? And then people laugh. Why are you making so big? I said, look, your husband told me I can do anything I want. And that's how I feel. That scale will match his ego and match his prestige. And after the house finished, it caused lots of contradictions. Some people think it's wonderful, and some think it's very bad. And then the old man right away bought a brand new Daimler. Ooh, at that time, make everyone's eye pop out. Because to build a two-town house costs a fortune. And a brand new Daimler, that's lots of money. That means you have no limit of money. And the Chinese get very jealous. And I become the scapegoat, Everyone point the finger to me, look, that bloody bastard. They call me Hakka Zai, means useless, a country pumpkin. And why you do things like that so ostentatious? But I'm only doing my job.
So you painted thousands and thousands of pictures, Rossano.
Yes, yes.
How long have you been painting?
I paint after the Tiananmen Square massacre. Suddenly I become a madman. I'm back from Hong Kong, I can't stop painting because I found I can't believe how can a government burn young students before they die and use machine gun to shoot them. And that is one, oh, look at that, that's quite wonderful. I think that's very simple and yet very complicated. Yes, all in the same time. It's very pretty, in the same time very ugly. I'm very proud, but I can't claim the glory because I'm drunk.
Why do you paint?
Oh, I think it's to soothing myself, to comfort myself. Also, to anti-object about my country, about the new king, because I think we've been cheated by the peasants who promised our people freedom and equality. In the end, they are the one. The new king have everything, and the poor peasant have very little. And there are people like that over there. And I went back to Beijing many times. I studied them, observed them. Oh, that's quite good. I do them very quickly because I'm drunk. I need drink to free myself.
Why?
I don't know, too much pain every day.
What pain?
Because I never been loved by my mother. She told me I should die. She would kill me with abortion. I should never born. I must say that hurt. When she died, I wouldn't even cry. I feel relief. I feel relief when she died. And then my father killed himself, violent death. And my mother also had violent death in New York. Blood everywhere, very sad.
What happened to her?
She had cancer to her breast, and they cut it off. And then the cancer become everywhere. But she don't want to die. In hospital, before she died, and suddenly blood come out from everywhere. It's very sad, because she don't want to die. She's only 63, and my father died at 45.
He was always very proud of his father. His father been told as the #1 architect in China. I never met his father, but his mother said his father's a very, very good father. I don't know that much about it.
He decided Bank of China in Hong Kong. That's 1947, I think. Completed in 1950. At that time, it's a huge building, and there was a midget. The Beijing government sent a delegation or send some people to see him and invite him back to China.
Where was he?
He's in Hong Kong because he's famous, because he designed the Bank of China and then some big important building at that time. And also because he's so idealistic, he want to build a new society. And where's the political one? Oh, man in uniform. See the mouth, the star, the mouth, and the big fat stomach. That's how you get the power into uniform. Ah, that's not too bad. In 1979, I went back to China after the Beijing government apologized to us because they up to a point they killed the old man by label him as reactionism, this right-wing element, and send him to labor camp. And the Beijing government apologized and give me a letter to reinstate him. And I went back to where he come from, when he worked as a chief architect. And the people who lived in our flat before, I met a guy, he said, look, the place we live now, it have ghosts. It have, at night or quite often, it have sand and wind and lots of noise. Gosh, I feel so much shame and all mixed up. I know that's my father's, must be his spirit. They all very unhappy, I think, lonely, and they suffer. And that reflect in my work and the suffering of my race, and yet the beauty of my race. And my work reflect my ancestor. In the same time, also reflect my learning from Mondiani and other European. I'm surprised. Ah, that's not bad. Bad paper, though. A Chinese painting, but in a totally different sense, isn't it? Oh, that's quite ugly too. Expressive. Big shot, isn't it? The red big shot from Communist Party. And they are the one running our people's life now. It's cruel, like Goya, in the same time beauty, all in the same time. Oh, yes. Yeah, my daughter reckon I'm a psychopath. I should go to a Pyro hospital. She said, why you always paint such ugly things? And then she, in the end, she don't want to show too much of my painting in her house because it's disturbing.
Some pieces I admire. Other pieces I think are just about how they're quite soul destroying. They're bleak. I know it's come from his heart and it's the artist's impression, but and I can see what he says. He says, I'm not going to paint chocolate boxes. He always says, and always puts down other people's work, of course, And I can see why he hasn't succumbed to painting what he calls chocolate boxes. But I said to him, well, you've got to sell those sorts of things to make your money, to pay for the materials. But he won't.
Chinese intellectual, we have opium. That is Tao, Lao Tzu and Zhang Zi's philosophy. When you're not successful, not a big shot, not a bureaucrat, you got to follow Tao teaching, to live very humbly like beggar. And you should sleep under a tree and dress humbly, and you should have a bit of drug and lots of drink and lots of fantasy. The builder, Neville Anderson, asked me to design a house for him. Have to be very, very cheap because he haven't got much money, he's young, but got to be big because he got, I think, 3 kids, and then he want to do lots of socializing and then impress his potential clients by his architecture. And that's what I've done for him. Oh, I'm impressed. That's a long time ago. It's still good. Last here? Oh, must be 8 years ago.
We particularly like the way the light comes in through.
Where do you make that much money from? You must be a very wealthy man.
No. Everywhere is art. There's been a few changes. Have you seen the changes?
Not very smart.
It's something to do with Walter Gropius's international architecture, I think. And also, maybe a little bit to do with Kenzo Tangi. The Japanese post and beam. It's very easy to build, cheap, economical posts in wood and supporting the roof.
The thing that we've really enjoyed about living here is this space here. It just works. You go from the kitchen, just read the newspaper, a little sitting area, the lounge, the television, the hi-fi and so on.
Unpretentious.
It is. It's open and it just works really well. You stay connected to whoever else is in the house.
At that time, I think I learned more about New Zealand architecture. I start to know how to build cheap. That's timber structure and also fiber line and concrete block. And I must say I resent the idea of separate dining rooms, separate lounge, separate this, separate that, and family room. I think it's very conscious about one's status and very different from the life in Hong Kong or Europe.
Just a bloody box. Yeah, that's all. There's a box sitting on 3 or 4 concrete block big columns in basement. That's all. Yeah. But I jazz it up by different high ceiling. The ceiling, some are higher, some are lower. And then the way I treat the lamp ceiling is quite sophisticated and crisp. Seems quite well controlled. All the material are cheap. And the basement is concrete block and with a little bit of concrete girder. Is your wife like pot plants or you like pot plants?
She looks after the plants more than I do.
Oh, I love that.
When I designing this house, I still keen on Bauhaus architecture. I think the proportion or the scale is very heroic. It's not pompous. And that heroic feeling remind me of Frank Lloyd Wright's teacher, Louis Sullivan. Almost 50 years, gosh. Yeah. I'm an old man now. Now, you come from, what is that town called?
Hokitika.
And what do you think of the houses?
Oh, the house is pretty good, yes. Yes. I used to have to take him to go and see it with the kids, and kids lying in the car. Well, I had to put up with all those. She said, "You are white, you should obey me, and you should take me there." And we had to sit in the car and wait for him for hours while he was out there,
We had bench seat car, so it'd be Mum and Huyen and Serena in the front, and it was always me lying down on my father's lap in the back. And there would be our trips to Wellington, and we would have our little discussions in the back. And I remember asking him even things like, why are songs all about love? And that's what I mean. As early as that, our conversations were about analysing things, not about, teaching me things.
I love what Confucius teach how to become a gentleman in Chinese culture. I respect that. To be a Chinese gentleman, you should never have a full stomach, always 70% full. You should never sit and totally relax. You should sit temporary. Always prepare to go on the go. Not to grab more money, but to serve humble people.
Before, money doesn't mean anything to him until the last 20-odd years. Used to be, people design, he don't charge people enough. And then whatever, got money, he gave back to me in those days. Yeah. And I'll buy everything for him. His drink, he smoked those days, I bought all those for him. So.
I always let my wife handle money. I never can handle my own money. And my wife teach me how to write check when I'm 42 years old. I get so scared. I learned how to write check. But I'm very good to handle my clients' money. I'm very well disciplined. I will never waste 1 cent in my architecture. Every night I stay in that room and I always look out from the big window to the big tree. And then I look at the dark sky. Very gloomy. It have no sun for a long time now, and rain every night and wind. And then I have few drink, and then I also drink my very strong tea. And then I start to write my poetry, or I start to paint. I like weeds to grow, and I like ivies. I like also plant grow wild, and then it makes me feel wonderful. Up to a point, I'm very much like Paganini or Bernini, and or Wagner. Wagner is a madman. Or Frank Lloyd Wright, also quite mad. Frank Lloyd Wright said that I would like to buy the whole world, and I'm a bit like that too. And Frank Lloyd Wright, one day, his client paid him some money. He right away bought himself a mink coat and then grand piano. And Frank Lloyd Wright never pays debt.
Ian Howard, the owner, he want a house just like King House. And he want to pay all my fee before I draw anything.
He said he wanted to pay me any fee I want, and right away. I said, look, don't pay me because I'm a lazy man, just like Maori. The minute you pay me, I don't want to work. I want to take my friend to pub to have lots of meal, drinks, free all on me.
And he said, okay, I pay you some fee now. And then he said, come with me.
He took me to the car and he drives so fast. Shoom. Right away he get there. I feel very good with a man like that. He seems to know exactly what he wants.
Rossano was a very creative artist.
Very young.
Very young.
Very stupid.
Very.
And left us in the lurch.
Left us in the lurch. He.
And you pay me more fee than what's supposed to be.
Oh, you needed the money.
And you're a young man.
But he left us with the most fantastic design, and then I had.
I'll go and get it.
The drawing, yes.
Yeah, Beryl's got it somewhere.
No,
and then he.
You turn it off, I'll down here.
He didn't do any sewage plans, any electrical plans, any.
Electrical? They bore me.
But
all the
what he did do was create what we wanted.
I'm a lazy man. I get bored.
And he took off to New York to follow his dream and left us with the idea, but not the not the completed drawings.
I was very lucky I have a client like you, otherwise.
Well, I was
very lucky.
Oh, there it is. There.
Oh.
That's one of them. But
you showed me the working drawing last night. It's beautifully drawn.
But that is what sold us.
What a beautiful piece of work.
But one thing, this house is no joke because they come from the working class and they have 3 kids. And I think Ian Howard at that time is only about 25 maybe 27, very young, and he got to work very hard, and he got to pay my fee, and I can't make joke. I used the cheapest method to build. I used stinky 4x2 framing. I hate that, but I use it, and I use panic ceiling. I don't like that much, and I use cheap border board. I don't like that much. I use all the material I don't like, and what Dr. Charles Moore called available technique.
I love alpine ceilings because they've got a texture.
Yes, it's like beautiful woman. She can dress anything. It still looks very beautiful because the bones.
Well, that's never been touched. None of those beams or ceiling have been touched in 38 years. These door handles are just, what are they? They're a bolt through, aren't they?
Yes.
Just a hunk of wood.
Yes.
It is clever.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
It is clever.
As my brother-in-law George said, you've done the very best with the cheapest material. It proves if you are that talented, a genius, you can use the most cheap material and build wonderful things. But I think it's like suit, a jacket. If you're a master tailor, you cut beautifully, and then the material is so cheap, and after a fortnight, fall to pieces. That means all your effort is wasted, with cheap polyester. But the design turned out wonderful. I think especially the veranda and the interior court. Oh, that's wonderful, I think. Now the big pagoda over my head very much remind me of some part of old Japanese temple or Chinese, and then it remind me of Green Brothers work of California.
But when I decide this one, I start to get bitter because I have less and less friends. My own countrymen resent me. They think I'm a parasite, useless, and they don't know what bloody hell I'm doing.
He wasn't recognised. I told him to go back to school and get his, certificate as an architect, so you'd be better. I said, well, I'll go on the garden, I'll earn the living, let him go, but he won't do it.
You got to be a multi-millionaire or billionaire to live like this in Hong Kong or Taiwan or England. But unfortunately, we have very unsophisticated audience. Sometimes I can't stand New Zealand life because the people I met are so primitive or unsophisticated, and they don't know what I'm talking about. I talk about opera, poetry, theater, and they are not interested. I'm not only talking about European culture, I talk about Chinese, India, America, I talk about the whole world.
He's always talked about power. And that whole thing, that's why I've grown up, and I just thought that was normal, that people talked in class systems all the time. Oh, you're a peasant. And I remember going to an iridologist, and he said to me, you've got very black eyes. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, you're so critical. And he said, and you're full of sarcasm. And that was frightening, and I was only like 22 or something like that, and I thought, my God, that's my father in me. Because he does, we'd sit around and analyse people. And that's all he does, is analyse people. And he's read so much, and I would say to him, you're not a psychologist. Who gives you the right to talk like that?
And he has hardly anybody ask him to come and design, and he won't go for work for people. So I said, oh, well, see, he just do nothing at home. I said, oh, you always want to be painting, well, you might as well become a painter. It's my own fault. So ever since then, I regret it. Become a real artist is really hard to live.
He did his own thing, and you just got on with your own life. You never had too deep a conversations with him because it was too frightening.
after I have no rich clients, I work as an artist, and my mind is not tired anymore. I always get up at 3:30, 4:30 in the morning, and then I start to work. When I was an architect, I feel very tired. I sleep very well, but now my mind is too vigorous, and I've got to train myself to drum and paint. I paint female because my mind go back to long time when I was young, I think. The tenderness and sexual attraction and, the youth, naive. And I found almost subconsciously I have to paint.
But look here, you've got hundreds in that pile.
Just recently, after my trip to Australia, and before that, I think there's more else.
Why are there so many?
That's because must be lonely by myself, and I have time to think back about my childhood, my youth, and I think must be a form of compensation. I look for that sort of subject because I want to see more about what's in this mind, the explanation. Quite often I think about those women in China or the woman misfortune, the bourgeois life, music, maybe Schumann, and the patron. They are the one become ugly. Very ugly and quite beautiful all in the same time. They worry me, the circumstance. It's the party boss, isn't it? The communists. I think something to do with memory. That also quite good too. The young ladies, the way they look at outside the window. Shall I do it? Or shall I not do it? Looks a bit sad. That subject always interests me, about motherhood. Or bad dreams, you can say. Breast cancer. That interests me too because my mother had breast cancer. She's sweet and she have a good character. I was very surprised. I found she bought, I think, a CD or tape about Emily Dickinson's poetry, I think.
We were thinking, well, hopefully this would be something that he would succeed in. And yeah, he had a number of exhibitions and he seemed to have people that were really hoping that he would succeed, and they got behind him and helped him set up art exhibitions and everything. But once again, he didn't follow through and he'd just leave everything to everyone else, and I don't know what happened to the paintings or anything. I mean, Mum has a far better idea. I think we just weren't even interested in what he was doing at that stage. We were too busy living our own lives.
So here, look.
Yes.
Can you show me more? Pull these out.
Yes. You mean kitties?
No, these women.
Oh, prostitute. Or?
Well, whoever they are.
Or?
You've just got mountains of them.
Yes, I was quite surprised because recently must be because
always the same one though, Rossano.
Almost, yes. Almost.
Why always the same?
I don't know. I think must be something interests me about it. And not bad.
Does this face haunt you in some way?
Yes, that interests me a lot about what's in this mind.
What is in this mind?
I think to get what they want as an individual by rely on sex, youth. Why people want to be prostitute? Because they have nothing to sell. They come from humble family and they're badly educated. The only thing they can sell is themselves, this body, because they are unlucky. Not they haven't got rich father. She got a scholarly father, and she don't need to work as a prostitute. And I feel sorry about them. But of course, the guys always playing prostitutes, and now trip. Most artists playing prostitutes because they are the edge of society. I'm not very keen about people who always go to church and very conventional. I show interest about homosexuals, lesbians, prostitutes, or drug addicts. Why not paint European? I don't know. I've been to Europe, but I don't want to paint them because they are not. I'm not deeply concerned about them, but I'm deeply concerned about my own race and what will happen with them.
This one.
Which one, Dad?
Is this some form of exorcism, do you think?
Yes.
And
what can you see? It must be some form of compensation for what I'm lacking. And quite often I don't want to listen to Beethoven or Mendelssohn. I want to listen to light club music or pop music because vulgarity. It's like some of those subjects I don't want to paint, but I paint them just the same. I found when I go back to Chopin or Schubert, I feel wonderful because from the bad music or the vulgarity, I go back to something very wholesome. And painting, I don't know, I don't find many beautiful things, pure and sweet things. I just found corruption or aggression or it's not healthy. I think it's something to do with my childhood, I think. I have no mother love. My mother think I should never born and she want to kill me with abortion. And then my father chucked a stone to me when I in the roof of the swim and calling out daddy, and he chucked a stone to me. And when I asked him for 50 cents to buy ice cream and he told me off, and I cry.
so if you could marry this woman or have this woman, do you think you'd feel better?
Too late, I'm old, too old. And I'm not sure because I seems to always want something new. I think I told you before or not. When I was a young man, every day I got to have different type of cigarette. And I got to change. I got to have different dress, different cigarette, and I drink different type of drink. I found quite ridiculous. The minute I work out a sketch about a house or a building, I get sick and tired about it. I don't want to touch it. I want another one.
Have you had many prostitutes in your life?
No, because I found they are quite boring because you pay for sex, but I seems quite enjoy to watch to see how people deal with them. I met quite a lot of those men who like to have sex with prostitutes and who is very frank. To them is
more like healthy exercise. And I laugh. I think that's all right. And I'm a bit fussy. I don't like just pay for sex. I think that's boring. Yes, I found sex and power, that subject always interests me somehow. Maybe it's something to do with corruption.
You know, who's your market? And why are you painting these? I mean, is it to release it for yourself? And I mean, how many times do you need to keep doing the same subject, knowing that nobody's interested? Nobody's going to buy it. You know, we're not here. You know, and I don't know, maybe it's too futuristic. And I always think maybe he's not going to succeed until he's left this world. Yeah.
The one putting up the finger is our baby girl Lisa. That's the house for Lisa, my baby daughter. She make me to do it like that. She don't want any of those. She don't want that, and she don't want. That's my brother-in-law's house. She don't like those, and she don't like that. That's in Palmerston North. Yeah, she only like fashionable things, young people's things. She don't like most of my work. She only like what she like, and I got to please her. That's all right.
I can never do things like Antonio Gaudi in Spain, and I can never do things like City Opera House, because every time I look at City Opera House, I don't know what to think. Gosh, that's a fantastic work and always very beautiful from almost every angle. But I don't know how to build things like that. That copy in nature, that's too fanciful for Chinaman. A Chinaman, I like to think I'm free from Confucius teaching. When I'm a young man, a boy, I scorn about Confucius. And then later on, when I grow old, I start to have more and more respect about him.
It have to design to suit her age, also the budget. And I think they're quite impatient. They don't want to muck around with blocks and concrete. It got to be very, very cheap. And that's why I use everyday material. And it deteriorates quite quickly, I think, cheap material. But it's very quick. And it's more for what we call available technique. That's the philosophy, Dr. Charles Moore. I like Charles Moore's work. His philosophy, available technique, market stuff. It's like buying stuff from a warehouse, not made by tailor, because we can't afford it. I don't like that sort of plaster because that's only, I think you use that for Chinese takeaway, polystyrene. And I prefer something much more rugged.
So I don't think anybody could get close to him. I mean, it'd come to a point, you know, any relationship that is formed long-term, he doesn't have long-term friendships. Because people tire of him. He sucks and absorbs and throws until the next person comes. I mean, and I know that's, you know, like you meet people in your path as you need them and at different times, and there are friends that you need and friends that you don't, and that's very much the way that he's worked all the time. So there's, could he introduce you to somebody that he's had a long-term friendship with? Not many. Which is sad. Because he does, I mean, I said, as much as he means well, and as much as he puts down people, he still admires them.
Lisa said, I don't want any big windows. She's a very practical, sharp, smart girl. She said, I have no time to watch the ocean. All my time is work. Run the house, make money to survive. She's unsentimental. Why should I have huge window to look at other people's room? Agree. I like people like that. Conforming is not a bad thing sometimes. It's like people go to work, they all dress in dark suit and with the same satchel. I think it's all right. We should not try to do things for fancy reasons. If you look around, they're all the same.
You try to find a solution for him, but it's too big and it goes beyond, and so unless you've got the real energy, which I don't have, to invest in him, you know, like the paintings, you can see what he needs to do. Someone needs to go out there and promote it, and he's got all the great ideas, but he can't follow through. He's got no logic and systems in place.
Trade is T-R-E-A-D, isn't it? I can't find it.
Ken Gray told me some American professor think the whole design by Frank Lloyd Wright. I said, how can silly old man Frank Lloyd Wright, such big shot, come to Pemberton to design a bloody house like that? I laugh. Oh, what a funny story.
The only thing can discipline me is my architecture. And my architecture discipline me because my client trusts me. They let me to do what I want, and they told me how much money they can spend. And I feel very scared. I can't make joke with them. I've got to do my very best. That's Ken Gray's house for Mr. and Mrs. Gray. And one day, Mrs. Gray rang me, said, want to see me. She wants me to design a house for her. And then she come with a young girl, that's the daughter. And then I told Joy, she's beautifully dressed. And the daughter told me, that's not a puppet dress, that's her Lighty. I said, nothing wrong with that.
I don't know who she is. She's a small lady, good figure, beautiful face, like movie star. And then she said that we want to build a house. And my husband is very big, and he plays rugby, and sometimes sit on the toilet, and the whole toilet falls to pieces because he's so big. Joy Gray like to have sun bay, liquor, and then to have lots of sun in the kitchen. And then she want the master bedroom have no sun, dark. And the bathroom, no sun, very dark. And she likes some small space she can study, alcoves, window seats. And yet Ken Gray want huge space for political meeting with 50 people, with a cocktail party and so on. Gosh, what a hard house to design. How can you design a very small kitchen and got lots of sun, and then a huge room somewhere, and it's full of contradiction.
I like a step bed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I like the way it moves. I can't compose music. I can't play instrument. But I always try to get music in my work. I think because the rhythm, the music, the movement, and also the in and out, I always find those. And then the window, they move. I like the way cantilever out and looks very light, but in the same time, 3-story there. And also that part, the deep recess, looks melancholy. It reminds me of New Zealand history. It's something to do with the Kiwi history, farm, also colonial, wood, and then broad, rugged, and independent, and then some part I think is melancholy. after so many years I come back to it, I think I'm just as good as Frank Lloyd Wright or Corbusier or Miss Van der Rohe, because I feel so cheap. And I think I've done quite a good job. And they're very happy, they pay me more. And they always very friendly toward me. But after this house, I don't get any more big clients or big work.
Why not?
I don't know, people might think I only serve very rich people. And I have no more work after that. My daughter thinks I'm a failure, I think. And I'm a strange person. And maybe I'm a social disgrace. Yes. And
Why?
oh, because I have no money, I can't drive a car, I have no degree, I've never been to school.
Once you get too close to him, he's too complicated and he gets in your head and it's just, causes, I mean, he doesn't even need to be near me and he's in my head. Just a phone call from him will set me off for a couple of days and I have to worry about him, and then I have to say to myself, don't ring him. Don't make contact for at least a week, because then I won't feel sorry for him and then I won't get caught up in his world, because his world's too complex and only he can deal with it. And as I said, he put himself, and I've just got to remember that, and that's what my mother keeps doing. He put himself there, so stop trying to problem solve for him. But then I respect him for who he is as an artist and an architect, and I do hope that he succeeds, but then I think there's a bigger man out there that this is your fate.
Dr. Freud and the psychiatrist always said, I think men want to become baby again by sucking mom's breast, and they go back to childhood. And that's the most happy time, childhood, baby. It's warm, been loved, been protected. What better than that? It must be a wonderful feeling. But in the same time, I become an old man, and it's a dream, I can say. It's fantasy, isn't it? To become a baby again, and to have mother's love and mother's milk, and it's peaceful and warm. That is the end of the story of Rossano Fan. Do you think it's a happy story, or a sad story, or a bit of both? I think he destroyed his own dream. He also destroyed his wife's dream. Do you think it's a happy story or sad story? It's all up to you. That's the end.